Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. And on this episode, we have a few weeks left in the NHL regular season. The Vegas Golden Knights right now are in a fierce battle in the Pacific Division, battling it out with the Anaheim Ducks, Edmonton Oilers. Of course, you got the Kings, the Shark, the Kraken. There are so many things happening right now with your Vegas Golden Knights. However, there is an important topic that we need to discuss, and as annual tradition, as it gets towards the end of the regular season, we have done this in 25, we have done this in 24, so we are going to do it once again here in 2026, and we are going to be looking forward to the upcoming free agency with the Vegas Golden Knights, and I am going to be making an argument to you if they should be brought back or if they should not return this offseason with the Vegas Golden Knights. So this episode is going to be a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Now, before we break down the players, I do want to mention a very important aspect, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights have a projected cap space of $12.5 million with the following caveat. Alex Pietrangelo, his contract at $8.8 million is the only reason why this would make it to 12.5. If Pietrangelo does not play next year, if Pietrangelo is still on that career-ending, essentially never going to play again because he was on season-ending long-term IR this year, which freed up the $8.8 million for this year, assuming that Pietrangelo is going to once again be on there, the Golden Knights will have $12.5 million. Now, in a scenario where Pietrangelo does not be put on season-ending long-term IR, the Vegas Golden Knights would then have a cap projection of 3.7. So, having Pietrangelo out of it, that means the Vegas Golden Knights would have 16 roster spots, and they would have $12.5 million that they would have on the cap. Now, let's get into the players and let's break all of this down here on Vegas Hockey Hub. And let's start this out by talking about the most important person when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, and that is Pavel Dorofeyev. Now, Pavel Dorofeyev, the 34-goal scorer, the guy who has the most goals with the Vegas Golden Knights organization this year. He has been not only a rising star with the Vegas Golden Knights, a perennial top six forward out here in Vegas, but more importantly, he is an RFA this upcoming offseason. The Golden Knights will have to work on an extension with Pavel Dorofeyev. To me, the question isn't if the Golden Knights are going to give him a contract extension, it is how much is Pavel Dorofeyev worth? What is the value of a young 25-year-old who has racked up 34 goals and has over 55 points on the year with the Vegas Golden Knights? We know what he can do offensively. Yes, there has been some struggles defensively with Pavel Dorofeyev. That is a weakness I will point out. Yes, he does cause the occasional turnover that does backfire on the Vegas Golden Knights. But offensively, his positives outweigh what the negatives are on defense. Now, with Pavel Dorofeyev, to compare what his value is, you have to look at the league and what deals have been done for guys who are around 24, 25 years old, who are, dominant, puck-heavy, goal-scoring forwards like Pavel Dorofeyev is. And that range with Pavel is around $7.5 to $8 million per year. Now, I do have to mention once again what the projected cap space is with Pietrangelo's contract not being put on it. That is at $12.5 million. So if you do pay Pavel Dorofeyev, you give him, let's just say, a 5-year deal at $7.5 million, that is going to eat a huge chunk of that projected cap space. Now, clearly, the Vegas Golden Knights, if they wanted to and are most likely going to, are going to have to trade one or two players to free up cap space. There's even possibility about them buying out one of their most expensive contracts that they have in the organization, since he has 1 year left on his deal. But putting this into consideration, just focusing on what Pavel Dorofeyev is going to have, I look at his contract and say, this will be a player that if you give him a 5-year deal, 6-year deal, and you make sure that he is locked up into his early 30s, that is what the Vegas Golden Knights need to do. And because of the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have some cap space, not a lot, but some to make it work, that is my prediction there. So Pavel Dorofeyev, I would say around $7.5 million at about 5 years. Like I said, to get him till about 30 years old. Not similar to, I would say, a contract they did at the beginning of their expansion year with a guy like Jonathan Marchessault and William Karlsson. Those two contracts they had when they offered them essentially 5-6 year deals at the beginning of the franchise history. Now, the person that I'm going to be looking at with the Vegas Golden Knights and saying that they will bring back is bottom six forward Smith. Now, Cole Smith, he is not the most familiar name to Golden Knights, as he is going to get him at the trade deadline. They did have to give a defensive receiver, and they did have to give up a second pick, which I will say, interesting situation there. Now, the fact that the Vegas Golden Knights did give up a valuable draft pick, a draft pick that is, in the top 100, that might make a reason why the Golden Knights could possibly bring him back. What's also more important with Cole Smith is that he only had a $1 million cap hit. He's a bottom six forward, a very physical, defensive-minded fourth liner, somebody that is not going to be as expensive as other people we're going to talk about in this video. So because of that, if they gave him $1.5 million, gave him a 2-year deal at $1.5 per year, I think that could actually be a solid deal with the Vegas Golden Knights. Have Smith be with Nick Dowd, have him be with Keegan Kolesar, see if chemistry builds if you bring him back next year. Because we have seen trade deadline acquisitions that started out sluggish at the beginning and then ended up getting better as time moves on. I mean, relatively speaking, with Cole Smith, this is a newer situation. He's only been with the Golden Knights for a couple of games now since he got acquired at the trade deadline. He has 0 points and 0 goals with the Golden Knights organization. But once again, he is more built for that penalty kill and him being more of a physical-minded forward. I mean, after all, in terms of size with Cole Smith, this is a guy 6'3", around 200 pounds. But overall, similar to Pavel Dorofeyev, when I said yes to him, I look at Cole Smith and say he should be brought back because he will be relatively cheap. My prediction is about a 2-year deal, $1.5 million per year. So that will be with Cole Smith. Now, the next person I'm saying yes to with the Vegas Golden Knights and what they're going to do in this upcoming free agency is a young 22-year-old goaltender in Carl Lindbaum. Now, with him being an RFA, the likelihood of him being extended is a good possibility. When you're a restricted free agent, they can give you a 1-year deal. They can give you a 2-year deal, and they can make it work on a team-friendly situation. More importantly, with Carl Lindbaum, we did see earlier this year that he is a young goalie with upside as a backup goalie in the NHL. Also, I want to mention him being in Henderson, him being in the AHL. If the Golden Knights play their cards right, Carl Lindbaum could be still on a 2-way deal where he is still eligible to be in the AHL and would be an eligible guy to be in the NHL if there is an injury or if there is something that goes wrong to, so for example, Adin Hill or Carter Hart. Now, the main difference between Carl Lindbaum and another goalie I'm going to be talking about later in this episode is that unlike that other goalie who is 3 years older than Lindbaum and pretty much will not be eligible to not be in the AHL unless they put him on waivers and try to send him down, Carl Lindbaum, when you study his contract and look at what he has, he is still eligible, since he is on an entry-level deal right now, to be waivers exempt. And with being an RFA, they can kind of make it a situation where if they give him that deal, they make him an RFA signing with the Vegas Golden Knights. So I would say with Carl Lindbaum, they give him a 1-year deal, probably sign him around $800,000 for next year, essentially make him a AHL starter or NHL backup with the Vegas Golden Knights. But Carl Lindbaum, relatively speaking, I think that he should be a guy they bring back next year. And the final person that I'm very confident they will bring back is the 24th man, a guy who has been very dependable ever since they drafted him in the inaugural draft class with the Vegas Golden Knights 9 years ago, and that is Jonas Raunbeer. Now, Jonas Raunbeer, his stats are not flashy, or regardless if it's the AHL or the NHL, Jonas Raunbeer is not somebody that you look at his goals and you look at his points and go, wow, this is a player that we cannot have without. However, considering what he has done with the Golden Knights organization, the chemistry that he has built in the locker room, and the fact that he has been in Vegas for all 9 seasons that they have been a franchise. More importantly, with Jonas Raunbeer, he's still 26 years old. And this is a player who is probably going to cost around $800,000, maybe $850,000 on a 1-year deal. And it's also the same Jonas Raunbeer who has been brought back every single year with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. They trust him to be in Vegas and to be in Henderson as well. So my prediction is that Jonas Raunbeer, as a UFA, they will bring back on a 1-year deal, $800,000, or if they want to be generous to the guy, make it a 2-year deal, $850,000. But for a signing with the Vegas Golden Knights, this is someone that I think they should bring back because they have been around him for so long. And he essentially has been a day one guy inside the Golden Knights organization. Now, let's get into the nose, because this one's going to be controversial. And there are Golden Knights fans who are going to look at this and go, we have to bring him back. Think about how much we traded for Rasmus Andersson. Think about all the stuff that we gave up for a guy like Rasmus Andersson. We gave up Zach Whitecloud. We gave up, all these draft picks. We got to keep him, right? Do anybody realize how much of a disappointment Rasmus Andersson has been since he's gotten to Vegas? Statistically, he has gone down in so many categories. Even using advanced analytics, Rasmus Andersson has been in a situation where, unfortunately, he is not contributing at the level he should be at. More importantly, even statistically with Rasmus Andersson, he has been playing, at this point, a little over 20 games with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And outside of a goal with Chicago Blackhawks as of late, I mean, great, you have 12 goals with the 2025 season, but you know how many of those goals you had in Vegas? Does anybody want to guess how many points Rasmus Andersson had in Calgary before he got traded to Vegas? He had 10 goals and 30 points. That is from Hockey Reference. You know how many points Rasmus Andersson has had in Vegas since he got brought back over? 2 goals and 7 points. So to say that his stats are not contributing at the level that he should have been in Calgary, I also want to mention that because of this, I mean, he was having a statistically good run in Calgary, having 30 or more points every single year in the past 4 seasons. But man, he has just been a disappointment since coming over to Vegas. He is not contributing at the level he should be. And with Rasmus Andersson, his contract next year, the Vegas Golden Knights had to take on 50% of his contract for this year, but he is a $4.5 million defenseman. And let's just be honest, at 29 years old, him being an upcoming free agent, he's not going to make $4.5 million this upcoming contract. He is going to be getting paid more than that. So if it comes down to Pavel Dorofeyev or Rasmus Andersson, who do you pick to be in the Golden Knights organization? You take Pavel over Rasmus any day. Rasmus Andersson being here for half a year, I look at this trade and go, it's going to be a fail. It's going to be an L for the Golden Knights organization. But Rasmus Andersson, I would not bring back with the Golden Knights organization this offseason. This trade has backfired heavily on Vegas, and you just cut loose. You say, you know what? This was a fail. We tried to go all in, and it backfired on us. So we let Rasmus Andersson go because we either got to afford him or we got to afford Pavel. You can't keep both. Next on a defenseman that I'm not bringing back, Jeremy Lauzon. Now, look, Jeremy Lauzon, he's a fighter. He's a scrappy guy, a very physical defenseman, 28 years old. They brought him over from Nashville this past offseason. And yes, this guy, 6'3", over 220. I understand why they brought him over. But my, oh my, Jeremy Lauzon, whenever I watch the Golden Knights this season, he has made the penalty box his second home at this point. Jeremy Lauzon has so many costly penalties and makes so many boneheaded decisions with the Golden Knights organization. I just look here and say, you know what, Jeremy Lauzon, it's not going to work out. They had him for 1 year. He's had, around 10 points on the year for the Golden Knights, racked up, over 80 penalty minutes so far. But with the Golden Knights organization, Jeremy Lauzon, I understand why people want him to be in Vegas, okay? I understand why he was brought in. But in terms of the defenseman and the fact the defensive market, they can go out and get another defenseman to replace him, just like with Rasmus Andersson. I think they can get a cheaper alternative here in Vegas. So Jeremy Lauzon, the fact that his cap hit for this year was a $2 million situation with the Golden Knights. You move on for Jeremy Lauzon. You cut ties. You say, you know what? We had 1 year with you. You were a contributor. You've been here for a certain amount of time, but we are going to move on. Colton Sissons. This guy they brought over from Nashville in the Nick Hague trade. And this guy was Mr. Nashville, a veteran center, someone that the Golden Knights were going to depend on for the, the penalty kill, a good guy to have, in a situation. But has Colton Sissons really panned out for Vegas? Like, realistically, Colton Sissons at 32 years old. I also want to mention the Golden Knights had to take on 50% of his salary. So really, he's worth about $2.75 million, but Vegas only paying him 1.4 in that deal. And overall, this is a guy in Colton Sissons that this year, he's racked up, about 5 goals. He has, just around 10 points on the year. He is not doing what I think Vegas thought was going to happen. This is a player who had, back-to-back seasons over 20 points with the Nashville Predators. And this year, his stats have heavily regressed since coming over to Vegas and being a bottom 6 forward. And with him being over $2 million cap hit, I expect Vegas to move on from him, save up some money, and not bringing back a player who is going to be a veteran in his 30s on that bottom 6 that would be worth around $2.5 million. I don't see them bringing him back. Now, this one's going to be controversial, okay? Ben Hutton has been with the Golden Knights organization for a long time. Ben Hutton has been a dependable 7th defenseman here in Vegas. I understand that there are going to be people who are going to fight this and say, you know what, Ben Hutton's actually been one of the best defensemen that they've had this year. And from a value perspective, I actually tend to agree. And that's why somebody will sign him and give him a contract better than what Vegas will. The Vegas Golden Knights giving him $975,000 the past 2 years. I think there's going to be a team out there in the NHL that will give Ben Hutton a 1-year deal. They'll give him $1.5 million, maybe $1.25 million. And I don't see the Vegas Golden Knights paying more for a veteran defenseman. I don't see them matching an offer where the Vegas Golden Knights go, you know what? Somebody gives Ben Hutton 1.5, for example, we're going to match it. So with Ben Hutton, unless he signs for cheap, that's my caveat there. If Ben Hutton stays in Vegas, it'll because he will sign a deal very similar to what he did this last time in Vegas. But no, I see another team looking at what he has done this past year and giving him that veteran defenseman $1.5 million contract to go somewhere else. Now, this one breaks my heart because he is one of my favorite players on the Vegas Golden Knights, a day one original misfit. But let's look in the mirror. Let's be honest with ourselves. Riley Smith is not getting another contract extension. Statistically, he signed a 1-year deal, $2 million. He was brought back for this year, and I understood the rationale behind it. But statistically, Riley Smith this year, he has 11 goals. He has around 20 points on the year. But does anyone notice that he's been a healthy scratch for a period of time this year? Has anyone picked up on the fact that Riley Smith is no longer an everyday starter in Vegas, and he was getting paid $2 million this year by the Golden Knights? I also do want to make aware that this is the same Riley Smith who in this past year had a 40-point season with the Golden Knights / New York Rangers. It's also the same guy who had a 40-point season the year before. So he goes from 40 points down to barely above 20. So with the Golden Knights, his stats getting cut in half, his production being cut in half, his time on ice essentially in terms of how many games played has been cut down. So with Riley Smith entering the age 35 season, unless he takes a team-friendly discount, and I mean like he gets paid maybe $1 million to be a bottom six guy, I don't see the Golden Knights bringing him back at the cap hit he has now. So Riley Smith, unfortunately, a fan favorite. He won't get another contract extension. Of course, I will miss Riley Smith being on the Golden Knights, but I just don't see him being brought back. Now, somebody that I also will say confidently will not get brought back is Brandon Saad. Now, this past year when Brandon Saad joined the Golden Knights organization at the trade deadline, this guy was a free agent signing after he got cut from St. Louis. Golden Knights brought him back at a relatively cheap alternative option. And man, he had one of the best half of seasons I've seen with the Golden Knights. I mean, he had 6 goals, 14 points, and only 29 games with the Golden Knights. I mean, he had 30 points on the year when you combined his stats in St. Louis. So, of course, the Golden Knights looked at what Brandon Saad did at 33 years old and gave him a 1-year deal worth $2 million. And where's that $2 million gone this year? Brandon Saad has not been in the starting lineup for Vegas since Edmonton earlier this month. Brandon Saad has regressed so much this year. Brandon Saad went from a guy that was a dependable middle six forward last year to now being a middle six forward who has been pulled and not in the starting lineup anymore. I don't see him getting a re-extension. I don't see him getting brought back next year. And honestly, when it comes to Brandon Saad, I think 1.5 years in Vegas, he'll go somewhere else. Maybe, he'll sign a 1-year deal with Chicago Blackhawks because they love bringing back veteran forwards who have been there previously. But Brandon Saad, I don't see him being brought back. Now, keeping this going, let's talk about Akira Schmid. Akira Schmid being an RFA, he should be brought back. Akira Schmid being a restricted free agent, statistically, it would be a no-brainer that he is a Vegas Golden Knight next year. But I want to remind you of one crucial detail with Akira Schmid. Okay? Akira Schmid is not waiver exempt with his current contract. Akira Schmid, when he is a UFA, eventually next year, even if you're an RFA on your final year, you are not going to be waiver exempt. They cannot send you down to the AHL if you don't have a waiver exempt. Somebody can claim you if they have to send somebody down. And here's the dilemma with Akira Schmid. At 24 years old, he was a really good coming in, was in the AHL. He gets to age 25. He is in the NHL essentially full-time this year as the backup to Carter Hart. And as a backup, he's actually been the best goalie the Golden Knights have had. Like, statistically, he has the best goals against average when you compare it to the 4 goalies the Golden Knights have suited up this year. A 2.59 goals against average. I also want to mention Akira Schmid, 16 wins, 10 regular season losses, and 6 overtime losses when it comes to Akira Schmid. So if you actually look at the win-loss record, he has been, around 500, 16 wins and 16 losses when you combine the regular and overtime. Also, 2.59 is his goals against average, which when you compare to Adin Hill, who is above 3, Carter Hart, who's above 3, and Carl Lindbaum, who was exactly at 3, Akira Schmid has actually been the most dependable goalie they have had. Now, I mentioned all of the positives to get to the negative. Vegas has Adin Hill locked up to a long-term deal. The Vegas Golden Knights made an incredibly outrageous move and gave Adin Hill a contract extension last year. And that contract extension has become an anchor to the Golden Knights. They will have to pay Adin Hill until 2031. Carter Hart is on a 2-year deal. They're going to pay him $2 million next year to be the backup. So because you have Carter Hart, because you have Adin Hill, that leaves Akira Schmid as the odd man out. So if they didn't have Hart, I would say bring him in. Okay, if Akira Schmid was the backup and they didn't have Carter Hart, this would be a no-brainer. This would be a yes. But because of the fact they already have 2 goalies signed, because of the fact they're not going to be able to offload Adin Hill's outrageously expensive contract, the Vegas Golden Knights have no choice but to stick it out and have Hill and Hart be their goalies next year, regardless if I'm a fan of it or not. Regardless if you like the move or if you don't like the move, that's the reality. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to be forced to keep Hart and Hill. Schmid is going to be a victim of this. He's going to go somewhere else next year because the Golden Knights already made their bed. I'm going to keep this one very short and brief. He's been a bottom 6 NHLer for the 2 years he's been in Vegas. Him being, that veteran type of forward, he will probably sign a 1-year deal, $775,000 somewhere else, maybe $800,000 somewhere else next year. I look at this as kind of like a Sheldon Rempel or Byron Freese kind of move where the Vegas Golden Knights had an AHLer who was a bottom 6 forward in the NHL. They'll move on from him. I really don't see why they would bring him back next year. Dylan Coghlan, kind of the same thing. I mean, I know that he was an original draft pick with the Vegas Golden Knights, but overall, he's been, just a fringe NHLer. He's been an everyday AHLer at this point. He's a journeyman. I think Dylan Coghlan, unless they try to bring him back on an AHL deal around $800,000, I don't see really any upside or really any reason to bring back Dylan Coghlan to a long-term deal or, next offseason. So Dylan Coghlan is a no. So with that being put into consideration, here is my recap very quickly on what the Golden Knights are going to do, who they're going to bring back next offseason here on Vegas Hockey Hub. Now, once again, keep this in mind. They have the projected cap space of $12.5 million, and they have 16 players signed to their contracts. Now, Pavel Dorofeyev will be player 17. They will sign him to about $7.5 million per year. He will be back in the Golden Knights organization next year. Number 18 on terms of roster spot will be Cole Smith. They will bring him back. A good, bottom 6 forward, 4th line guy. They can have him with Dowd and Kolazar. He's a physical-minded player, and they could bring him back at about $1.5 million with the Golden Knights. So he'll be number 18 on the roster. Now, with Jonas Raumbier, bringing him back as a guy that will be on a 1-year deal, probably about $800,000. That'll be number 19. And then you also will have at number 20 as a third goalie will be Carl Lindbaum. So Carl Lindbaum, him being a young goalie, 22 years old, they can afford to have him be there. Then you also are going to have some prospects that are going to be in Vegas. I think Trevor Connolly is ready to go. He'll be the 20th roster spot. And then they will sign 3 players to fill in the final 3 roster spots at probably around $775,000, $800,000 for each player to fill up the final cap space. So this is Vegas Hockey Hub. This is what Vegas Golden Knights should do and who they should bring back and who they should not bring back next off season. If you agree or disagree, comment down below. And until next time, this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli, and go Knights, go.
Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.